Hi friends, I'm Ty Landrum and I'm here with my friend Anna Goryeva at Purple Valley in Goa. And we've been asked to show some preparatory sequencing for Kapotasana, for the pigeon pose. And the sequencing that we're going to show you is something that you can just add right into your practice. And it helps both to further open the psoas lines in front of the pelvis and also working on the hyperextension of the shoulders. And the idea is that if you use the sequencing, maybe Kapotasana will come a little bit easier for you, or you'll be able to go deeper into it and it just might feel better. So we're gonna start with a variation of Ustrasana, the camel pose. So whenever you're ready. So first she's just gonna take the conventional variation of Ustrasana, and she'll hold it for 5 breaths or so. And she's working on dropping the pubic bone and also pulling it back, even as she presses the pelvis forward, so that there's a sense of the pelvis narrowing a little bit. And you'll see that she has her fingers on the outsides of her heels so that she's not squeezing her scapula together too much, and that gives her the ability to lift a little more, which is why she has this super nice lift in the heart. So after 5 breaths, she'll come up on an inhale, yeah? And then she's going to straighten the left leg right out to the side, and then she's going to reach her left arm up and back to the floor, and then the right arm is going to go back, and she's going to reach it just like so. And so here she's stretching the psoas line. And by the psoas line, I don't just mean the physical psoas, although she's obviously stretching that as well, but the line of sensation that goes through the physical psoas all the way up to the palm of the hand, all the way down through the inseam of the leg and into the big toe. And she's pressing that big toe back, pressing the pelvis forward, still dropping the pubic bone and getting length. And notice that she has her hand with the palm turned in toward the midline. And then Anna, whenever you're ready, you can inhale and come up. Beautiful. And then she'll go right into the second side. So the hand that goes to the floor is on the same side as the foot that reaches out to the side. Okay? And so here again, she's reaching, this time stretching further through the left psoas line. And she's using the diaphragm to get lift. With each inhale, the rib cage is coming a little bit higher, a little bit further away from the pelvis, so she's got as much axial extension through the spine as she can find. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, you can come back up. And then she'll do one more, this time perhaps taking the hands flat to the floor on the insides of the heels.
This way?
Yeah, you can turn your hands back maybe, or even out if it feels. Maybe turn your hands out and put them underneath your feet. There you go. Does that feel all right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you go flat with the hands? I would maybe take them back a little bit more so that your hands are right underneath your shoulders. Maybe just put the hands right under the toes instead of, yeah. But the main idea here is just that you do Ustrasana once again, another symmetric variation that's a little deeper. So however you can get your palms flat on the floor will work. I like to put my hands underneath the feet, and that feels good. It looks like that's working out well for her now too. So you'll also hold that one for 5 breaths or so. So now you've been in Ustrasana for about 20 breaths. It also generates a bit more heat, and then take the vinyasa whenever you're ready. So she'll draw forward, maybe press up a little bit, give a little hop to Chaturanga. Wonderful. Inhale to Urdhva Mukha, exhale Adho Mukha, and then she comes forward again to her knees for Lagu vadrasana. And so now here, instead of doing the conventional variation of Lagu vadrasana. She's going to wake the legs up a bit more by going up and down with the breath. So when you're ready, go ahead and reach back and catch just in front of the heels. Exhale, she goes back. Inhale, she comes up. Yeah. And she keeps the head back. And I'm just going to give her a little hand because it's been a long morning. And she's going to go 5 times. And you probably, if you're just starting to play with this, you probably won't go quite as deep as Anna's going. She's going all the way back and touching her head to the floor, which is pretty deep. Now on the 5th one, she's going to go back and hold. And she might keep her hands by the heels, or she might take them further forward. You could even go as far forward as catching the knees to make a deeper back bend out of it if, that's in the cards for you and if that would feel good. Beautiful. So this really is quite challenging to the legs. It really wakes them up and it's really strengthening. So whether you are just learning Kapotasana or you've been doing it for a while, that variation of Lagu vadrasana is highly recommended just for cultivating and sustaining even more strength in the legs. So now she's going to come forward to Kapotasana, and we're going to imagine that she starts to go back into Kapotasana and maybe doesn't feel quite as open as she wishes that she felt. And if you work on Kapotasana, that's a super common experience. You go back into it and it's like, ooh, this is going to hurt a little bit. And so instead of forcing your way back into it, what you can do is just go back and hang for a minute and just take 5 breaths there. So let's say she starts to go back and then she's just going to pause here. So she's reaching the palms of her hands back. You could do that, or you could keep the hands like this, or you could keep the hands kind of closer to the face, which is a little bit easier because then there's less weight back behind you, but she's reaching, reaching, reaching. She takes 5 breaths there, and then she inhales and comes back up instead of catching, and she takes a vinyasa. And then we're going to add in a couple of other extracurricular postures. So of course, another thing that she could do is just come back to her knees and try Kapotasana again from there, or repeat the hanging thing until she feels ready. But I also want to show some additional psoas opening postures. So yeah, go ahead, step the right foot forward, and you're going to let the back heel come up, and then come all the way up, reach the left arm high, and then twist deeply to the right. And she's going to take her left hand and put it on the outside of the front leg, and the right hand to the outside of the back leg. And then so she's kind of using her hands. See, she keeps the back leg straight. She's pushing back through the heel, forward through the knee. She's got great lift through the spine, and she's twisting, looking this way or even all the way back. And it's a surprisingly intense stretch on that left psoas line. So now she's going to come back forward and take the left elbow on top, and then she's going to arch back any amount, reaching the fingers as far back behind her as she can. She's still pressing strongly through the legs, and she's dropping nice and low. Okay, again, super strong in the legs, really stretching the psoas, and then when you're ready, you can exhale, go down to the floor, and take a vinyasa. Wonderful. And then, of course, the other side. So she comes up, the back heel is lifted. That's kind of important here because it won't work the psoas line in quite with the same depth if you ground the heel down. So she's twisting. She's got a lot of lift through the spine. She emphasizes that lift on the inhale. She emphasizes the the spinal twist on the exhale. She's looking back. And taking 5 breaths or so there. And then when you're ready, this time the right elbow is going to go over the left and then reaching. The idea is that the elbow, whichever leg is back, that's the elbow that goes on top, because you're pushing that shoulder open a little bit more. Really, she's working on this side, the right psoas line. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And then you can go down and step and to chaturanga, and she takes the vinyasa. Okay. And then again, maybe from here, Kapotasana is good, or maybe you feel like you want to open the shoulders and the psoas lines just a little bit more, in which case Viparita dandasana is an amazing preparation for Kapotasana. So we wanted to show that also. Now there are different ways of getting into Viparita dandasana, and we're going to show you what we think is probably the most accessible and kind of easiest to describe, which is to come into it from Urdhva Dhanurasana. So she's going to just jump through and lie back and lift up into, or start to lift up into Urdhva Dhanurasana. And then she'll take the head down. And then she's going to interlace the fingers behind the head, just like she would if she was coming into a headstand. The elbows are no wider than the shoulders. And the head, then she lifts off the floor, and she uses the strength of her legs to press that way. And you see, it's a very potent and rather intense shoulder opening posture. And she's going to be feeling it all through the inner, not just in the shoulders, but down through the arms, in the intercostals, the front of the chest, and maybe also all the way up through the psoas lines. So you could work it like this. If you also want to, if it feels okay in the lower back, you might take the feet together and press through the feet as if you were in Purvottanasana, if that feels okay. But you don't need to show that. You can do it either way. So you can do it with the knees bent, or bring the feet together and press. Okay? And then you can come out of here any way you like. Maybe not back into the big puddle, so she's going to rock forward instead of taking Chakrasana. Good decision. Okay. And now she's ready for Kapotasana. Now Kapotasana is easy. Okay.
You would help me with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So she presses her shoulders high. She's really spreading between the shoulder blades, so she's connected strongly to the aponic force. The pelvis is pressing forward, but she's narrowing the front of the hips. She's not splaying the hips open. And then I'm just going to help her by putting my hands here, and I'm not going to pull her hands down so much toward her heels. Instead, she's going to press away from my hands, and as she does that, she pushes herself forward. And so I can feel how much she's willing to go forward, and so I'm not just pulling her. And it looks like she can catch the heels in this moment, so she will. And then she goes down and puts the elbows to the floor. Notice that the head is free. Now, not everybody has the proportions or the flexibility to do it quite like that, but you try to get the elbows down and the head free so that the head is not touching. It's not bearing any of the weight. Instead, she's pressing through her arms in a way that was very similar to the way that she pressed with Viparita Dandasana. The front of the pelvis is still narrowing. She's not squeezing the backside very much, not squeezing the the major gluteal muscles. Instead, she's using the strength of her legs that she cultivated in that Lagu vadrasana, especially the quadriceps, but the hamstrings are working a little bit too. Beautiful. And when you're ready, come on up. And thank you so much, Anna. That was beautiful. So we hope that this sort of unconventional sequencing helps you have a better time in Kapotasana. Thanks for listening.